everyone. Hey, this is Doug Wilkerson with Central Christian Center and Saturday Night Live Life Recovery Ministry. Um, I'm here to share some things with you, an encouraging word from Doug. Hopefully, this will be encouraging to you and maybe even helpful or inspirational. Hey, this is Thursday before Easter, so Easter's coming up. Just want to encourage you all to be in church Sunday. It'll be good to see you here at Central Christian Center or wherever you're at. So, anyway, happy Easter. Have you ever just felt like that you were lost and you didn't know what was going on? You was overwhelmed. It was kind of like you were just wondering with no purpose. Well, what I want to talk about today is have you done your best to find your purpose for your life? Okay, have you done your best? Have you even thought about looking there? Meaning is so important. Meaning is not on the outside. It's not all the doings or what you have, but it's who you are. It's on the inside, that meaning. And when you have that meaning and you're able to fulfill or walk in that meaning, then you you feel more fulfilled. You have a greater possibility of peace and contentment and joy and just overall pleasure and fulfillment. What is it that you really, really want? Have you ever thought about it? Think about it. What is it that you really, really want? Matthew 7:7 says this. It says, ask and it'll be given to you. Seek and you'll find. Knock and the door will be open to you or for you. We need to be willing to pursue that part of us that really fulfills us, and that's that meaning. We'll talk more about that today as we go along. The Bible also says out of Proverbs 29:18, this is out of the King James Version, it says, verse 18, it says, where there is no vision, the people perish. When we don't have that vision or dream or goal or meaning, we purpose. We lose. We die. We perish. That's what I was looking for. The word perish. And so the rest of that scripture is, but he that keeps the law, happy is he. And if we can keep the law, if we can do that, then we have an internal peace and contentment. We know we're doing the right thing, and when we're doing the right thing, that gives us internal peace. Not because we're just doing that, but we know we're not violating our own principles and what's right for us and for others. Viktor Frankl, which I've mentioned his name multiple times because he's one of my favorites. He's a psychiatrist that actually was a survivor of the Nazi death camps, concentration camps in the Second World War. He said this. Of course, he wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning. He says, if you know your why, any how is possible. In other words, he's saying that when you find your real meaning of your life, the meaning for you living, then you can you can get through anything, okay, because you have a reason to live. Nietzsche said it this way. He said that Friedrich Nietzsche said, he who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. So, I remember hearing stories about prisoners in the Second World War, in particularly in the Philippines, that when the individuals would lose their will to live, their purpose, what they were living for, then within just so many hours to a day, they'd die. We have that force inside of us that when we let it go, then this body stops living. Dr. Daniel Amen, he's a psychiatrist. He studies brain disorders. He does SPECT imagery, which is very similar to MRIs. And he said this, okay? He says, ask yourself every day if my behaviors fit with what I really, really want. So if you don't know what it is that you really, really want, then maybe you ought to look at your behaviors, because your behaviors will show you. But then if you keep saying, well, I keep doing what I don't want to do, maybe you need to take a look at some of those things that you're allowing to drive you or push you around. And maybe you want one thing, but you're doing something else, and that will cause you conflict. But you already know that, don't you? Yeah. Got some questions here for you. It says, what do I want people to say about me at my funeral? Have you ever thought about what it is that how you want people to remember you? And that is a good life strategy, to look at the end of your life and allow that deathbed experience to maybe direct you in your present time life. That may sound kind of strange, but you can gain some wisdom, because knowing what you're really looking for and having the wisdom of knowing what you've already and so to speak already lived through could give you some guidance. Another question: am I giving the people I value the most enough time? Well, that's a question that I have asked myself many times. I remember really the first time that really affected me with my daughter, and I decided that she deserved my time as much, and maybe even more than others that I was giving my time to. And so I decided if that was important to me, I was going to make a change. And I did, because I concluded that my intention was I was going to have her longer in my life than some of these other folks that were taking up a lot of time in my life. Not that they weren't important, but reality is she was more important to me, more precious to me. So I just needed to make some shifts. It's called priorities, boundaries. Next question that I'm throwing out here today is, what is your why, or the meaning in your life? I know I've asked this question several times, but I want to get it into your thinking, if possible. What's your purpose? What's your meaning? You have it. God has already put it inside of you. Viktor Frankl said that we don't have to find it on the outside. We just have to discover it on the inside, because God has put that in us, because we are a spiritual being. He breathed into us that spiritual breath that made us a living soul. And that's the reason why we're so valuable to God, because we're a part of Him and He's a part of us. So what is our purpose? You will face many challenges in life, and when they get difficult, you'll feel like quitting, and that is a normal feeling. Okay, but if we can get a clear and precise picture of our why, of that meaning that we're living for, our purpose, that dream, that goal, that vision, if we can have that clear and precise picture, that can give us the courage and the strength and the fortitude to move on through, to deal with those problems. Know that there is something after the problem, because this problem will not stop me. And oftentimes I've looked at difficulties and problems and said, well, when I get through this, then that's over. That's I don't have to. I'm already through that. Okay, that's one down, and I'm going forwards. We need to have a clear and precise picture of where we're going, and maybe we don't know what all that is yet, but we need to start working on it. Remember the Matthew 7:7, seek and you'll find. Okay, and if we can get a clear picture of that, and that will be a motivating force in us to help us. However, a clear why gives you the purpose and the motivation. And it will also help you to have the ability to make tough decisions in the middle of difficulties, because there's always going to be tough decisions. You have to you have to choose, because to move forward we have to deal with issues, resolve issues, deal with issues, or what some people might call problems. I call them golden opportunities, because when you do that, then you actually are getting stronger, and by doing that, you will move forward. And as you grow and develop, you become more and more confident. If you have a big enough why, you can handle just about anything. Isn't that the truth? The reason why people quit is because they give up because their why was not big enough for them. Okay? Or at least they hadn't allowed their why, or they didn't see their why. They didn't recognize it to the full depth, or maybe they just lost heart in themselves. So, indeed, if you do not find your meaning in your work, in your life, in your relationships every day, then you will tend to have a downward spiral. You become depressed. You'll become discouraged. You'll become dismotivated. You'll become cynical, means hopeless, okay? Bitter, and also negative. And all that is mental, emotional, spiritual poison that you poison you and others around you. That's because you hadn't identified and developed that awareness of that knowledge of who you are, that meaning, why God put you here, because He put everybody here for a reason. He didn't make any junk. He didn't make any useless stuff. You're important. All of us are important. So what we need to do is we need to address ourselves, and we need to write down those questions that we need to answer. And yes, it's a little bit of work, but oftentimes we don't take time to process. We need to write down. We need to ask ourselves, what is it I need to do? What do I need to do, and how do I need to do it? We need to actually write it down. You don't really realize, if you haven't done that, you don't really realize the benefit of writing things down, because see, writing down uses several different other areas of your brain and helps reinforce it. And I know in my earlier life, I had written down uh, goals in my own life of what I needed to develop in. And I had to read it over and over to help me to get in. Why? Because we forget, we lose it. I don't know why that happens. It's part of our brain because actually we're wired to be primarily sensitive to threat, survival mechanism, and to grow and thrive. Uh, we're not as sensitive to that, so we have to purposely put energy and effort into that to make or to help ourselves to move in those positive, healthy directions. So, I think that our brain will just automatically resets to that default mechanism of coping with all the negative, and so we lose out the positive or the purpose or what we our dream um, that we want to go to. So, and that's the reason why we have to reset the reset, if you know what I mean. Romans, to address this, Romans 7, chapter 15, and this is out of the NIV translation. It says, this, I'm not going to read all the scriptures here, but I want to read this one. It says, I do not understand. This is Paul speaking here. I do not understand what I do. Has anybody ever said that? I do not understand what I do. Okay, and this is Paul, Mr. Super Christian. He said, I do not understand what I do, for what I want to do, I do not do. But what I hate, I do. That's a trap that all of us have been in and may still be in. And Paul, the apostle, was in. And we need to recognize it. We need to be aware when we've slipped off the track, and then we recognize that's not in our best interest. Being here is not in my best interest. I need to make a shift. I need to get out of this hole. I need to start thinking differently. I need to do something positive. And what we're talking about here is ask yourself, what is it I need to do? Some questions you need to ask yourself. What's going on? Where am I at? Why am I feeling this way? What are these thoughts? Are they real or are they unreal? Are they rational or are they irrational? Are they based on truth or are they a lie? Does it line up with my best purpose? What God wants for me? Those are all questions you can write down, but I can't tell you all the questions, but you have a spirit inside of you that can give you an indication of what questions you need to write down and you need to work on, and you need to write them down. Because you think, I know, you'll say, well, I'll remember them. You don't remember them. You forget. You forget. Okay? And Paul was saying here, I keep falling off my target goal here of doing what I know I need to do. He knows what he needs to do, just like we all know, but yet we have a hard time doing it. So when we recognize we didn't do it, we do a reset so that we can do it. Okay? And the longer and the better we do that, the easier it will get. Will it ever be totally easy? Will we ever be all the way through that? Not as long as we're hanging on to this earth suit that we have. It's going to be the way that it is. But we can, as use a scriptural term, we can mortify the flesh. We can strengthen our spirit and hopefully overcome the strength of our flesh. It can happen, and it will happen. Okay? Let's go forward before I run out of time. It's easy to get off track, and it is our personal responsibility to keep ourselves on track. Wouldn't you agree with that statement? Certainly you would. Okay? Don't blame others because you got off track. Yeah, maybe they did something. Maybe they pushed you. Maybe they even made you angry. But actually, they can't make you angry. You chose to be angry. But you have to take responsibility and get yourself back on the right track. One more fact about brains. When you ask your brain a question, when you ask your heart the question, when you ask your spirit a question, when you ask God a question, or you talk to the universe and ask it a question, which is still God, you put some dynamic into play here to call on our brain, our spirit, our heart, God, to go to work in our behalf. And our brain is wired to seek for that information that we say that we want. As long as we don't sabotage it and turn it off, it will work night and day to get that information to us and for us. The brain, okay, and so as long as we want that, I want to read the scripture to you. No, it's a statement. It says, "What you think about what you think most will come to pass in your life." I want to make sure I get this right. What you think about most will come to pass in your life, whether you want it or not. Okay? If we're thinking about bad stuff all the time, we're going to get the bad stuff because we're thinking about it. It works in the positive, it works in the negative. That's the way it works because God's put that power in us. And it's like what I've talked about this. Wataba, that's it, Wataba. And that is what you think about, you bring about. Wataba. What you think about, you bring about. Whatever you think about, you bring about. That's the RAS, the reticular activating system. That's a part of our brain that we tell it what we want, and it searches for it. It'll catch it in our, it will cause our non-conscious to seek these things out and bring them into our conscious when they come in close to us. It'll find it for us. And some believe that it even bring it to you. Know your purpose and know your meaning of your life. God put it in you. He put it in all of us. He made a plan, and you're part of that plan. And He wants to see that plan come to pass. I want to encourage you to participate with God's plan. Matthew 7:7, Matthew 7:7, seek and you'll find. So, hey, Easter's coming up. I'd like to see you in church. May the Lord bless you and keep you. And may His peace be upon you. Until next time, make healthy choices. Happy Easter.